In a quiet little town nestled near the misty hills of Austria, there lived an old clockmaker named Mr. Reinhardt. His small workshop stood on the corner of a cobbled street, its windows glowing warmly even on the coldest of nights. Inside, the air was always filled with the gentle ticking of clocks, tall grandfather clocks that stood like silent guardians, dainty wristwatches that gleamed under the lamplight, and pocket watches that carried memories of generations. Each tick seemed to echo Mr. Reinhardt's devotion, for every clock that came into his hands left the shop not just repaired, but renewed, as if time itself had been healed. For 40 long years, the old man had fixed timepieces for everyone in town, from wealthy merchants who owned golden watches to little children who brought him their broken trinkets with hopeful eyes. Yet, despite his remarkable skill and reputation, Mr. Reinhardt lived a humble, solitary life. His home was a small room above the shop, a single chair by the window, a simple bed, and a teapot that whistled softly each evening. As dusk fell, he would sit by the window, sipping tea, watching the quiet town below as if he were listening to the rhythm of time itself. But there was something beautifully unusual about Mr. Reinhardt. He never charged poor people for his repairs. When they tried to pay, he would simply smile and say, "Time is a gift, and gifts shouldn't always be sold." His words became quietly famous in town. People often said that Mr. Reinhardt didn't just fix clocks, he fixed hearts that had forgotten patience. One cold evening. As the snow began to fall softly over the roofs, the bell on Mr. Reinhardt's door jingled. A small boy, Lukas, stepped in, clutching an old pocket watch. His eyes were red from crying, and his fingers trembled from the cold.
"Sir," he said softly, "can you fix this? It doesn't tick anymore. It was my father's. He was a soldier, and he never came back from the war." The old clockmaker took the watch gently, his eyes kind. He opened the back, examined the tiny gears, and noticed a broken spring. Fragile, but not beyond repair. With steady hands, he replaced it, cleaned the dust from its gears, and wound it carefully. Then, tick, 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 the watch came back to life. The boy's eyes widened, tears glistening in them like stars. "How much should I pay you, sir?" he asked in a trembling voice. Mr. Reinhardt smiled, his wrinkles deepening kindly. "Just promise me one thing," he said, "that you will never waste the time your father gave you." The boy nodded solemnly and ran out into the snow, clutching the watch close to his heart, as if it were beating with his father's love once more. Years passed. Seasons turned, and the little town changed bit by bit. Mr. Reinhardt grew older, his hair silver as frost, his steps slower than before. Fewer people came to the shop now. The world was changing, and fewer cared for clocks that ticked. Still, he worked quietly every day, his faithful hands steady until the end. Then, one winter morning, the townsfolk noticed the shop hadn't opened. They knocked on his door, but no one answered. When they entered, they found him peacefully asleep in his chair, with a clock ticking softly beside his bed, keeping time for him one last time. The people buried him on a hill, overlooking the town he had served all his life. They spoke kindly of the old clockmaker who gave time to others, never realizing how much he had given of his own. And for many years after, the little shop remained closed, its silence echoing the loss of its gentle keeper. Many years later, the world moved on.
The town grew busier, filled with new roads, new faces, new stories. And one bright spring morning, the townspeople noticed the old shop had reopened. Its sign read, "Lukas and Son, Time Restored." Inside, the same familiar ticking filled the air, steady, comforting, alive. Behind the counter stood a grown man, Lukas, the same boy whose watch had once stopped. Now he was a clockmaker too, his hands moving with the same quiet care that Mr. Reinhardt had once shown him. When people asked why he had chosen this trade, Lukas would smile gently and say, "Because a kind man once taught me that time isn't just to measure hours, it's to measure kindness." On the wall behind him hung a small wooden board, its letters carved by hand. "Fix what's broken, not for money, but for meaning." And if you stood quietly in the shop, listening to the ticking around you, you could almost feel Mr. Reinhardt's spirit, still there, still giving time to those who needed it most. Moral of the story: kindness never gets old. When you give your time, patience, or care to others, you lose nothing. Instead, you create ripples of meaning that last beyond your own lifetime. Even the smallest act of goodness can keep someone's world ticking again. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments. Let us know what kind of stories you'd like to hear next. This story is written by Zainab Ara.